And mostly we'll just figure it out as we go.
No, I think we just went live.
Are we live yet? Oh, we
We're
are live.
There's a little button ticking up there. Yep.
Oh, well, I'm glad I didn't notice that. Wait, first off, hey Michael, you wearing that underwear I got you?
No, it's dirty.
Is it heart boxers? Please tell me it's heart boxers.
No, it's like me hugging, and then right where his jug would be.
Yeah, it's literally it's his face. I have yeah, it's not just you hugging that. It's also got your face in hearts all over the rest of it.
Oh, because I got Jez some of that underwear too, and I was wondering, did I give him the hugging one, or did I give you the hugging one? I know I gave him the penis pillow that my head is actually the head of the penis.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Oh, I forgot. Well, we should probably get this started. Hello, everyone. This is the I Tell Dad Jokes panel. It's just puns, jokes, and humor and writing. First off, I think you all should begin by telling us your favorite joke. Right on the spot, right away.
Oh man. Favorite joke. Okay, all right. I'll go first just because I've got it in my head. Now this one, some people may not like that I'm going to tell this joke, but I'm a father of 3 daughters. Right. So that means that there's a certain type of humor that's pretty common in our house. Okay. So ready. Did you hear about Tampax's new ad campaign?
I already don't like where this is going.
No, they may not be number 1, but they're still way up there.
I like that. Well, it makes me uncomfortable, but I like that one. All right, Jolly man, what you got?
Yeah, sure. Let's do a knock knock joke. So I'll need you for this here, Susan Hazelnut.
Okay.
This is always a fun. All right, so you start.
I start the knock knock joke.
Yeah.
So I say knock knock.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Knock knock.
Who's there?
I don't fucking know.
That's the joke.
Oh. Boo. All right, Ryan, what you got?
All right, so I'm more of an anecdote guy. So this will be a little bit longer than everybody else is, I think, but the payoff is usually pretty good. So there's a guy who has moved up to Alaska, and he is one of those people that's a real outdoorsman, a real man's man, and he's up there, and he found out that they have a men's club in the Alaska area, and he just asked to join. So he goes up there and he goes, I'd like to join the men's club, and they're like, well, we have 4 tests for anybody who wants to join. First test is you have to chug this whole jar of moonshine and drink it and still be able to walk. I said, okay, I think I can do that. Pretty good at drinking. Second is you have to run outside and you have to do a polar bear plunge. Jump in the ice water, jump back out. No problem. I can handle that. Third is you have to go into the forest and you have to wrestle a grizzly bear. He's like, oh, that sounds pretty tough, but you know what? I'll go ahead and make my way into doing it. And then lastly, you have to go into town and you have to have sex with the town whore. It's like, oh, no problem. I can handle all those tests. So they said, all right, well, we're going to time you to see how fast you do it because you do have a time limit. You have to do it as fast as you can. He said, all right. And they said, 1, 2, 3, go. The guy grabs the jar of moonshine, opens up his throat, and just shotguns the whole thing. Gone in like 3 seconds. And, oh, very impressive. Very good. And he goes, runs outside, tears off, rips off all of his clothes, hacks a hole in the ice with a pickaxe, and then jumps inside and starts swimming laps back and forth in the hole that he dug. And they're like, oh, this is very impressive. Jumps out of the water, screws his clothes, runs into the forest, and all being silent for a little while. And all of a sudden you hear this growling and roaring and fighting and hitting and all these noises coming from the forest. And then all of a sudden it goes really quiet again. And they're all waiting and they're like, did he die? And he comes walking out of the den. He's got scratches and claws and cuts all over his body. And he looks at the men and he goes, now where's that whore I'm supposed to wrestle?
I get it. That's kind of you had to mute yourself because you were just nothing but giggles. Here, I got one real quick too. It says, okay. My doctor told me it was normal to get aroused and even ejaculate during a prostate exam. Still, I wish I hadn't. That's it. Okay, we'll get down to some real questions now. Anybody watching, if you've got questions, please ask. We'll get to them. Otherwise, my first one, it says, tell us about the different styles of jokes and humor and what works best where, and then what definitely does not work. So like dad jokes, puns, pop culture, anything. Where does it work best? Where does it just like, oh man, that's not right for the scene? Wait. I want to know this from Joe first. What's the answer? Nothing. Reverend. Okay. All right. Question. Let's begin with Ryan.
Okay. I mean, there's so many different types of humor that you can put into, especially into writing. It's a lot of fun. Dad jokes, I think, are almost always safe for wherever you are. There is definitely some consideration for time and place of certain types of jokes to be put into, I think, into writing, especially if you're going for a certain type of setting. I tend to lean a lot more towards the slapstick style of comedy. Dick jokes, people getting hit around or knocked over or hurt in a manner that's easily reversible. So, but then there's also, I mean, you can also have just generic, everything seems really serious, and then all of a sudden one character does something that's really off the wall, totally unexpected. Can bring a lot of levity to maybe a darker situation that you're writing in. So, yeah, but that's usually my main style. Tends to be the slapstick style of comedy, primarily.
That's good. I mean, you can never go wrong with just like a butter fart joke.
Yeah, or shooting somebody in the dick. Just a great way to get people's attention.
It's a classic. All right, Jolly, let's hear from you.
I mean, you've got lots of different styles of humor. I think one thing you're always going to want to take into consideration when you're writing is whether you're writing a comedy or whether or not you're writing something serious, and setting those expectations relatively early for your readers. So if you're going to be doing sort of potty humor and slapstick, throw that in relatively early so your readers know to see and expect it. If you're going to do puns, put them in liberally, absolutely everywhere you can. The more obscure for puns, obviously, the better. If your readers don't get half your jokes, it's clearly a them problem, right? And for those dad jokes, you want to elicit groans. If somebody isn't groaning reading the book, then they're not groaning reading the book. So I guess you've got those multiple levels of comedy, right? It's, do I want them to laugh? Do I want them to giggle? Do I want them to groan? And how do I want to mix it up? And do I want to have kind of like different styles? And I find often I worry when I'm writing that I'm flanderizing characters as sort of series go on with their specific style of joke. And I think that's something just to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. No, I feel like that'd be hard. Is just, especially if it's a serious book, and it's like, how do I add the humor in here to it, and it's gonna detract from what I'm trying to say. So, Michael, your turn.
Well, I tend to lean more into like a heavy sarcasm type of humor for my characters, which is more and kind of more of a dark humor, which is like a military thing. You know all about it, Paul.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But that's kind of where we go. That's where we lean towards, is like that sarcastic dark humor. I do like throwing in the occasional pop culture references to kind of bring out humor. That was one of the advantages from switching from Threads of Fate to Wandering Warrior for me, because in Threads of Fate, that's a purely cultivation world where, the character was born in a cultivation world and only knows that cultivation world. Whereas in Wandering Warrior, that's somebody from our world who goes to other worlds. So I can use those the pop culture references, and even though he's the only person that understands it, like that even adds another layer of humor in that he's like, haha, you guys don't get the inside joke that only I understand, and because you're all stupid and I'm not, which only makes him look stupid because he's laughing at his own jokes. You know what I mean? Like it's just it adds layers, and to me that's kind of a different kind of funny. And yes, Kat, this is homemade bread. This is the homemade bread I made on my life, and it's delicious.
Like you said, jokes that only you understand. I feel like that's the beauty of a dad joke is,
Mhm.
everybody else is gonna be like, oh my gosh, shut up. And it's
Yeah.
the bigger reaction you can get from people just hating it, the funnier it is for you.
Yes, like what kind of data has a big bite?
What?
A megabyte.
That was that's the best you can get. It's like, I'm not gonna say anything mean about that one.
See, as the computer science guy, I'm sitting here being like, gigabyte. Gotta go for a gigabyte, and definitely, you need at least a gigabyte to fit my teraflop.
Okay. Josh had a question. He says, Head, how do you decide what worlds were the foundation for the Wandering Warriors pass? And also throw in a dad joke.
Okay. Well, I just did a dad joke. So, let's see here. Okay. What is how I did? So I actually didn't have all 20 or all 19 worlds ironed out when I started writing. Because like I said, it was a fever dream. I had a fever of 105 degrees when I started writing.
Your meth withdrawals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and first 5 chapters just kind of happened on accident. But once I realized what I had done, and I'm like, oh crap, this is now a thing that needs to happen. So I had laid out about 10 of the worlds, and I left the other 9 kind of open. Just I had loose ideas of what benchmarks needed to have happened for my character to be a max level. So like in worlds 1 through 3, he needed to gain his soldier class, and in so that means by world 7 he needed to gain his alchemy class, and by world 10 he needed to have his runesmith class. So I broke all that down in a spreadsheet, and so that means certain events needed to happen in each of those worlds. And so that means whenever I did my throwbacks or his flashbacks that he has to events that are happening in the books, by not making everything like exact, like this is precisely what each world was like, it let me have a little ebb and flow while I was actually writing. But by having some specific things, it made me it didn't feel so loose that even I didn't know what was going on while I was writing. So I kind of rode that midline, which I feel like is exactly what I do for everything when I write. Like I said, I'm a hybrid writer. I'm not a pantser, but I'm also not a strict plotter either. So it's exactly what I did for the outline for even the worlds for Wandering Warrior. And another dad joke. I don't know. Gosh dang it.
We got one if you need one.
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah, I've got a full list.
Yeah, so why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house?
Why?
Because the ghosts bring all the booze.
I gotta admit, I forgot the question I asked you immediately because I spent the whole time saying, I wonder what's behind Orion. I've never seen what's behind him.
Blinds. I saw blinds. We got any geoguessers out there? Come on, you got some blinds.
Geo,
Go.
what do I think is behind? What in chat? What do you think is behind Orion?
Nobody who's seen it. I've been on the I've been on the after parties for a couple nights, and I don't have the background because Discord won't let me put one. So nobody who's been in the after party gets to guess. Maria, I'm looking at you.
Your masturbatorium.
Yeah, it's
If you
just
don't know what
sex
that
swings
is,
and chains.
I'm not explaining that. Okay. Next question. It says, oh yeah, I've noticed that a fair amount of books I've listened to, the main character is not the primary source of humor or the jokes. An example could be like Carl and Donut. Carl is very straightforward, doesn't make a lot of jokes, but I mean, Donut is hilarious. It says, why do you think that is? That it's better, maybe you disagree, maybe better to have a secondary character be the jokester. Golly, I want to hear from you.
I think it's probably really heavily dependent on who your main character is. So, for example, for Beers and Beards, the main character is a dad. So he serves as a lot of the dad jokes and the puns and the humor, and then the rest of the jokes are largely situational. I'm a fan of situational humor, making people laugh, because when you tell a joke, people laugh at the joke and move on. But if you can make a funny situation, you can keep the joke going for a long time. And I know sometimes that goes well, and sometimes you set up a really, 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 really long like porta potty joke, and then it falls flat, and people talk about it for ages. Which didn't happen to me, but you know, yeah, that's not me, but you know, there's books out there. Thus far, I don't think I think one of the big benefits, definitely, of writing in the serial format is you get to find out what jokes fall flat before you hit Amazon. So I can happily say I haven't had any jokes fall flat on Amazon because they fell flat on Royal Road long before that. But I don't know, what was the question? Oh yeah, right. Main characters. I don't know. Some people like the straight man. It's the, I don't know if you know the Japanese concept of the straight man and the funny man. I think it's called bokeh. I don't know the exact terminology for it, but this idea of a straight person and a funny person, and that makes it funnier because the funny guy just on his own is just annoying, and the straight person on their own is not funny. It's not until you put the straight person with the person who makes it funny. Like, you got Pinky and the Brain, you've got Phineas and Ferb. Like, comedy is, you've got Key and Penn and Teller, Key and Peele. Comedy is full of that tradition of the two people. And so I think you're going to find either your main character is going to be the straight and you're going to have somebody with them, or you're going to have the funny person be the straight and everybody else is going to be their kind of comedic foil.
Yeah, I see that would make sense, that if everybody's trying to be funny, then it's just flooded with I like that. I really don't want to talk to Head right now. So Ryan, let's hear your answer.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a formula, really. When you look at it, it's something that people have tried over the years, and comedy geniuses over the ages have tried different bits to see what does. It's what does work and what doesn't. I mean, almost every stand-up comedian will do most of their shows in a tiny little dive bar before they film a special, or before they do something big live in front of a giant audience, so they can pick and choose which jokes they can see are going to work. It's the same with the straight character and the side character, in that it's just an age-old formulaic idea of the comic relief. So you're trying to tell a story. Sometimes things get heavy. Sometimes things get just too much into the main flow of what's going on, and you bring in the comic relief that brings people attention back to what they're doing right then. It puts more inspiration into wanting to pay attention to what's going to happen next, or what's going on with what's happening around them. So it's just something that people have refined over time to become more and more like what's necessary. And now there's screaming going on in my house, so that's fun. Nobody's hearing that. But It's that torture chamber behind me that we were talking about. I mean, nothing's behind me because there's just. So yeah,
It's gonna
it's
fall
just
down.
some of
It's just like crack.
But that again, it's something that's been formed over years. If you've watched like the development of humor or done any kind of research into how people have made have found what works, it's just trial and error, it really is. And when you find something that works and it does just continuously do well, you try to utilize those things. So yeah, it's that straight man and the comic relief that's always there that really keeps people's attention on what's going on instead of just pummeling them with the story or the tale of what's happening in front of them.
Makes sense, dude. Yeah. I mean, I guess Michael's cat. Same question.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I had for me, I was still kind of feeling out how I was trying to get comedy to work in Threads of Fate, and so I had this horse that I based off of a real horse named Scout, that was constantly trying to kill some of my characters, and some people that had, I think it was basically broken down as, gosh dang it, Butterscotch.
I'm just waiting for a cat butthole right in this.
Yeah. Butterscotch is just all over me today. So, oh my goodness. Why are you like this? All right.
Do I need to ask the question again? I forgot what the
Because you
question
don't
was. Watching that cat beat you.
So yeah, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out humor, and like a lot of people hated it. Like a lot of people absolutely hated the horse, and I think it's just people that have never been around horses before because they don't understand how intelligent horses actually are, and so they just could not believe that a horse could be so devious and that a horse could actually hold true hatred for specific individuals in their heart. And it's like, no, you don't understand. This is real. Like, this is me writing about like based on true story events, and nobody.
I'm sorry.
So what did you
as you?
Yeah.
I gotta bet that cat's left you alone all day until you're talking.
Yeah.
Right? You can have just devious animals.
Yeah. This isn't even my cat. This is not. This is my.
Just, I was like, it just showed up.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it is a cat.
That's my middle daughter's cat. Yeah. No, we're cat sitting. That's my middle daughter's cat. She doesn't even live with us anymore, but she works ridiculous hours at Garmin. So, like the GPS company. So she's working ridiculous hours, and the cat gets lonely. So we watch it for her.
All right. Boslo had a question. He says, "Have you ever had a joke backfire on you?" Valley, I think you were not alluding to this, and it definitely wasn't you. But have you ever had a joke backfire on you?
I personally haven't. I was really, really worried that I would have one. Book one is essentially 170,000 word of Beers of Beards is essentially 170,000 word setup for a fart joke, which could have gone very, very badly.
You're officially my hero, Jolly, for this.
I think that's a big lead time.
Yeah, it is. And I've been told that it is actually rip-roaring hilarious, which is very good. You definitely want your fart jokes to come across as rip-roaring. Better than them coming out as a toot. But in my own writing, I think any jokes I've ever had that fell flat just fell flat, right? Where people just didn't get it or didn't understand it. God knows my editor absolutely doesn't like some of them. I every once in a while I will have arguments with my editor over like, is this a good joke? Is this a bad joke? Is this an appropriate joke? And sometimes I bow to their expertise, where I'm like, okay, sure, I could see this being I could see this being maybe slightly insensitive, or I could see this being coming across as not quite nice with my readers in particular. So then I'll just remove it. Or with some of the more Canadian focused jokes, I'd like to have had a Canadian editor, so he actually understands all the Canadian jokes. And so he'll occasionally throw things in there and say like, hey, I don't think anybody outside of Canada would get this, or hey, nobody outside of Canada will get this, but keep it because it's hilarious, which is nice. I definitely say get an editor that appreciates your jokes, because if you don't get an editor who appreciates your jokes, they're just going to rip your writing apart. Yeah, I tried to think about a joke that fell flat. I can't think of any. I know one that it gets talked about a lot. Specifically, it's like a highly controversial one. Is the latest book in the Land series. I know there's a specific joke in there that people complain about. I mean, I like the Land series.
What was it? Most of my jokes get complained about.
I'm pretty sure it's chapter 37.
I think he knows the exact chapter.
That when he starts talking about the spirit bomb, like that's art.
Yeah, I'm fine, but I know it fell flat, and I
still laugh every time.
I would struggle, I think, if I was getting yelled at by people. I don't like your jokes. That would suck.
Well, I feel like even if you think that chapter, not you, whomever thinks that chapter fell flat, that is the chapter that I hear reference to the most, more than anything else from the Land. So with that, did it?
It was definitely explosive.
I guess it goes back, like is bad like there's no like even bad publicity is still good publicity, right?
Well, in this case, it's shit publicity. So.
Yeah. Shitty publicity is good publicity, boys and girls. That's how it works.
No. Okay, let's do Ryan again. Ryan next.
All right. So the question was backfire, and I haven't had any backfire on me. I've had some that were, people went both ways on it, where some loved it, some were like, oh, this is just toilet humor. And I was like, yeah, it is. That's literally what I do. So, I just have to take the good with the bad personally. Some have fallen flat in that, like, no one has referenced them so far. And I was like, oh, I thought that was really funny. But, if nobody's paying attention to it, that means nobody was likely offended by it, I guess. So no backfire. So nothing really backfired on me as far as the jokes go, but I have had some that people have either just missed, went over their head, and then there are some that I've put in there they were just jokes for me. I mean, I'm the only one who might get what the joke was because I'm the only one who's been in that situation when I was writing it. So sometimes you do that as a writer. I think people you put a joke in there that's just for you, and if somebody who's like really close to you reads the book and they know about the situation, they'll laugh too. And if not, then it's just another part of the story that keeps the dialogue moving.
I get that, man. Like, I got a really dark sense of humor from my time in the Marine Corps, and I'll try to tell a joke to my wife, and she'll just be like, "That's like I have an Adolf Hitler one joke." I told it to her, and she was just, "Don't ever talk like that again." But,
Geneva's in the wings, like, please don't tell the joke. Please don't.
I'm gonna tell it.
Don't do it.
All right. I wrote it down because I thought it was funny, but she didn't like it.
Geneva says tell the joke.
Geneva says tell the joke.
You know that Hitler was in terrible shape for most of his adult life? They say he couldn't even finish a race. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I find humor in most of those situations. So that's also my unhealthy coping mechanism, is telling terrible jokes when something bad happens. I've done it with several different or multiple losses I have had in family over the years, and some of my family has been like, that's really insensitive of you, and I'm like, it's the only coping mechanism I have, and I'm not letting go of it. So
I need to clarify. I wasn't laughing when you said that you had people in your family die. I was laughing at Josh saying "yikes." Michael, maybe I'd had a joke fall flat.
So I don't know if like I said, I had the horse thing fall flat, like the running joke of the murderous horse. And it didn't fall, like I said, it didn't fall flat with everyone. People that haven't been around horses in real life didn't get it. And so, but the people that had been around horses thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then I had some other people that were like, that just didn't notice things. Like in every single book I've ever written, to me, the greatest movie in the history of mankind is Ghostbusters. And so in every single book I've ever written, there are lines from the Ghostbuster movies, and sometimes people will catch it and they'll send me like a direct message or like, say like, oh, I found it. It's right there. It's so funny. This is the greatest thing. Like, oh man, this like, now, there's one line I've used twice because to me it's the funniest line in all of Ghostbusters, and it's when they're in the library and they're coming up on the ghost, like right at the beginning of the first Ghostbusters movie, and it's whenever Ray stops everybody, and Dan Aykroyd's character, and he's like, "Listen, do you smell something?" And I don't know. Whenever I was a little kid, like like 8 years old, watching that movie for the first 6 or 8 years old, watching that movie for the first time, to me, like, I caught that joke and I was like, that's the funniest thing ever, because he says listen and then smell something, and like so I have used that I used it once in Threads of Fate and then once again in Wandering Warrior, and like, oh man, like, and so there's lines from like Star Wars, Star Trek, Ghostbusters, and like I just have all these like one-liner jokes that were in those movies that are in my books, and most people don't catch them, but when they do, they're like, oh man, that's good. That's a good one.
You heard it here. Columbia Pictures.
That
Walt
harkens
Disney.
back to that.
Michael Head has copyrighted material inside his books. He admits it.
Come get me. Come get me.
Jokes that flopped. What joke have you written, or like humorous scene in your books have you written that you're just the most proud of?
Ooh, most proud of.
Not you, Head. You're last.
Jolly.
Did you say Jolly? I couldn't hear over Michael Head's, enormous laugh there. Yeah. Okay.
Nonstop giggles.
Like I said, book one is 170,000 word run up to a fart joke, and I'm very, very happy that worked out, because that could have gone very poorly. I think one of my favorite running jokes happened by accident in the early days, and I still do it on occasion. It was something that I had seen show up in Matt Dinniman's. If you're on Matt Dinniman's Patreon, you know that every once in a while he would put out votes for people to vote on kind of what shows up in the book. And I decided I wanted to try that too. So I did some votes on, I had actually the name of the bar, as well as, I had a bunch of bar names and I wasn't sure which I was going to run with. And I had some mascots that would go with those bars, because everybody knows you need a funny mascot if you're writing a comedy. It is inevitable. And I ended up having a prima donna goat who I decided that I was going to translate what she's been saying, kind of where the main character is kind of filling in the blanks whenever she, bleats or does stuff. And so you've got this princess goat who talks in brackets, prima donna goat, and she very much has a snooty British accent, and so she'll bring knock her food bowl over and it'll be quote prima donna goat, Forsooth, why is mine bowl empty, peasant? I shall shit in thine boots. And so she talks like this throughout the entire book, where every time she goes meh, there's a prima donna goat quotes where the main character, whatever he thinks she's saying, and sometimes it doesn't match up, right? Because she's not actually saying that. It's just what he thinks he's inputting words in her, maw.
That's beautiful.
And so I've had lots of fun with it, right? Like, and she's a drunkard. She's a drunkard, so she's not quite she's an alcoholic. She's actually the only alcoholic in the book, as it turned out. I didn't want, especially with the book around beer, I didn't want to have just a bunch of alcoholics, because it's kind of a soft subject for a lot of people. So the goat turned out to be the only person who constantly wants to drink more, but she can't because she's a goat.
What you're most proud of is a drunk goat.
Hey, the name of the bar is the Thirsty Goat. It's my go-to joke.
Nice.
That's another one of those, like, you can get I'll nod my head. I get it, but
That's a good one.
that was a good joke. All right, Ryan.
I guess I have a couple that I was really proud of in the book personally. I mean, I don't know if everybody else liked them. I had a scene where they were in a dungeon, and in the first book they came up to the doors, and my comedic relief character walked up into, and they're just giant doors that he'd had in this thing. And he asked, "Do you think they're compensating for something?" And one of the other characters looks at him and goes, "You really think that the guy woke up in the morning, went, I have a really small penis. I need giant fucking doors." And
Anytime I see a lifted truck, I'm like, I'm sorry about your penis, dude.
yeah. Or I had another one. I think it was in book. No, it was in book 2 when they were coming back from a quest they had, and you can equip items directly from your inventory into your hands. To instead of equipping them, so people don't even like keep weapons on themselves because they can just literally be summoned directly to their hand from their inventory. And it was after a pretty traumatic event had happened, and they lost a member of their party, and so they'd all been drinking, and something happened that like startled everybody, and because it's the apocalypse and everybody's been running around fighting monsters literally every waking moment of their existence now. They all start equipping weapons, and again, my comedic relief character, who's just drunk off his ass, equips this bright pink umbrella and starts flapping it open. And I just imagined the words "It's raining bitches" on the outside of the pink umbrella as he's just trying to hold it to protect somebody because he didn't remember to equip an actual weapon. So, it's little things here and there that have really made me laugh as I was writing them, but I don't know if everybody else thought they were exceptionally funny. It kind of harkens back to that. A lot of times I write the jokes for me as much as anybody else because I'm entertaining myself while I'm writing it.
It's what keeps you going.
Giggling while you're typing the umbrella.
I totally am. I absolutely am. I have had to stop a couple times and like wipe my eyes because I was like, "That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life." And then other people didn't quite laugh that hard, and I was like, that was funny. You just don't understand comedy."
Yeah,
Right.
people don't understand. We're alone by ourselves in the dark writing, and we have to keep ourselves motivated to keep going. And so sometimes that's how we do it.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing in the world to you in that moment. But again, sometimes I'm not writing it for everybody else. If not everybody's going to get the joke, and that's perfectly fine with me. If I laugh, that's what matters to me.
Yep.
And what keeps me motivated is the bad reviews or the comments where people are like, "Your joke sucks," because you just read those and you're like, "No, fuck you. That was a funny joke."
Exactly. No, that was funny. You don't understand humor.
Yeah, I'm gonna write more of those. I'm gonna make you cry.
That always reminds me of that scene from the guy from Rat Race, John Cleese's assistant, where he's always like, "And this is Phil. Unfortunately, he was born without a personality." So I'm like, that's all the bad reviews that say your jokes suck. Because I was like, oh well, so you have no personality. Okay,
Sucks to be you. Yeah.
Okay. Head. What are you
All
most proud of?
So I've got one for each series, and they're both they both turn out to be kind of inside jokes. For Wandering Warrior, it's the one that's for based on you, the Paul, right? Like I have an entire race of fey creatures, and
I'm
these
proud of that.
these
Those-
fey creatures. So
It's like I was so mean to somebody that he put me as a villain in a book.
yeah. So Paul gives
It is
me
an accomplishment.
a hard time, right? It's in fun. It's done in fun, right? But Paul gives me a hard time. Sometimes we play video games together, like Helldivers and stuff like that. But yeah, we give each other a hard time. But it's all done in good fun. But I was like, you know what? I got something for him. So I created this fey type creature that lives in the forest, and if you have a fight in the forest and if you knock down too many trees, you will anger the fae. And so there's these one-legged ass kickers, right? And like they hop around on one giant foot, right? And so if you turn and try and look at them, they'll hide behind trees, so you can't see them. But the moment you turn around and you bend over to like pick something up, or say you're bending over to like try and start a fire, they'll run up behind you and kick you in the ass and then try and run away. And like hop away on their one thing. And that is, and the name of the race of this entire creature is a Paul. They're Pauls. And that is him right there, that guy with the face. And so not a ton of people got that joke. It was a very inside joke, but for everybody that did get that joke, it was hilarious. Like whenever the first time it popped up and like that one paragraph of explanation, like that shit was the funniest thing ever. And then the other thing that was also a very inside joke is like I love to mess with my narrators whenever they narrate my books. And Travis Baldry narrates Threads of Fate.
You're just a dick.
Yeah. Right. So Travis Baldry is who narrates Threads of Fate. Travis Baldry hates the word dais.
Oh, I'm remembering this.
Remembering that.
I found him on Cameo.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
is it?
So
Diets. Right
yes. So he hates that word with a passion. Like it is his least favorite word in the English language. He hates that word more than moist, right? Like he just moist. Like he just hates that word. So I had never used the word dais in my entire book ever. Like I think this was my like book 3. It's either book 2 or book 3. I had never used the word dais ever. And I was like, you know what? Just for you, bud. So
I don't even know what it means, but I just want him to say it now.
yeah. I had this my main character was hearing these strange rumors of this sect or cult that worshipped dioceses or dais, like, and so like so like yeah like the leader of this sect or cult was some guy named Travis, and all they did was sit around on dioceses, on dioceses, thinking about a dais, the dais that they were sitting on, worshiping the dais, and it was just a bunch of dioceses built on top of a dais for like I made him say the word dais and diocese like 60 times in like a 120 word paragraph, and he just had to say it over and over and over and over and over again, and then it was so he live streams when he records on his Discord channel, and he was able to get through the whole thing in one go without stopping. But then his entire chat exploded because everybody in his chat that watches him live stream knows how much he hates that word. So he had to just stop. He had to stop recording for like a good 10 minutes because he was just like, oh, I hate Michael Head so much.
I forgot. Did you have a bloopers at the end of your book?
No, I wish that he did. I wish that Travis kept a recording of all of the bloopers that happens, because it would be so awesome. Because that was definitely a blooper moment. Because he was just, oh my God, I hate Michael Head right now. I hate him so much.
I do too.
So anytime he narrates any of your books now, would you say that he dies a little inside?
Oh,
a tiny
that
bit.
was a good one, Jolly.
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, but like, and obviously Travis and I, we've met several times in real life, and he's a great guy. We love each other to death. But yeah, it was so much fun to mess with him just in that one moment. Like I really got him good. And I've got something coming up for Neil Helgers, who does my Wandering Warrior.
Yep.
Like, I don't think he's on here right now, so I can tell. All right, I'll tell everybody right now. So I have a character in book 3 of Wandering Warrior. It's spelled lighter. Like if you read it, it's spelled lighter. But I literally say in the book, it's pronounced lig hitter, like lig hitter, and I have it hyphened out. So, but whenever you are reading, and if you're reading something aloud, how many times do you think throughout like this 120,000 word book, he's going to mess up and say lighter and have to go back and say lig hitter? It's a slow burn gotcha, but I've got him so mad. He's gonna bite
So
the
You to really
Remember
mess with
he
them, you
did
should
that.
absolutely put some actual like smoking scenes in there when you're like, "Can you pass me the league hitter?" And
Man, that's such a dick move. Like the only person that's gonna get that entire joke is Neil. He's just like, fuck this guy.
Well, everybody that's watching this right now, and and you guys, they're when they pick up Wandering Warrior book 3, they're gonna be like, oh, poor Neil. Like,
I think it's hilarious. And then if I go back and re-listen to them, I'm just gonna be like, that fucker. Okay. I'm gonna ask another question. We're talking about the laughs that you give now, but if you ever need a good laugh, where do you go? It's like, for example, if I really need a good laugh, I like to watch Archer. It's really dumb but funny.
agreed.
Not you, Head. Jolly.
What, me first again? No, let's give
Yeah,
it to
you.
this guy up here. Let's give it to this guy up here.
Ryan? Okay.
There
all right,
we go.
yeah. So this happens to me a lot where I'm like, everything's been really heavy, and I just need something to lighten the mood. And I tend to go to a couple places. I'll either find a stand-up comedy set that I like, especially when I have some of my favorite comedians come out with something new or a new special. I love to go watch those. That really helps out a lot. And then my second go-to is kind of like Paul's, but I'm a Family Guy person. So Family Guy is like one of my favorite shows of all times. I absolutely love it. And I love when other things pop up in my life that kind of remind me of that type of humor. Like I just recently watched the older anime called Ghost Stories, the English dub version. Anybody who's an anime fan should immediately know what I'm talking about with that.
That's so funny.
It is the funniest thing ever because it didn't go well it was like a mid-grade at best anime over in Japan. And when they came over to the United States, they were like, it didn't go so well. So, do what you want to do with this, as long as it kind of follows the main storyline and the lip flaps match, because obviously you can't change that. They said they basically gave them free reign. They said, obviously keep the names of the characters as close as you can. And I watched the YouTube that the creator did on explaining what happened with this, and it was pretty hilarious. And so they have this story that basically follows the main idea of what happened in the Japanese version, but all other bets are off. So everything they put in there is just the funniest things you've ever seen in your life. Like there's a scene where they're racing and they're trying to train this kid to run faster. And the guy yells at him, "Just pretend you're running like a big black guy's facing you." And it.
Have you seen that Andrew Schultz joke about training for like? It's a joke about running from a raper. I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to leave it at that. But check it out because that one's really funny.
Yeah, so that's the kind of things that I go for. Is those really? I'm all about the irreverent humor, the little bit of dark humor creeping in. Again, slapstick, potty jokes. Those are all my favorite thing in the world to have to get to watch. So Family Guy, and then some other kind of either stand-up comedy or some other kind of irreverent humor show that comes along my path that someone recommends.
Good. Looking at you two. Who's next?
Josh, I'm telling you, it don't leave the panel.
It's because I made a Nazi joke and then I referenced a rape joke.
I think it was the big black guy joke.
Yeah. No, we could not see that one coming.
No, Josh,
I thought it was funny.
you if you haven't seen Ghost Stories, it's on Amazon. It's a dub. It's an English dub of an anime. You should check it out. It's all done in it's total sarcasm, and it's all like it's really funny. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah,
We've got a
Crunchyroll
similar one
too.
here. We've got a similar one here in Canada that nobody seems to know about. But they did the same thing. It was kind of middle B tier at the very least. In Japan, they brought it over. It's called Samurai Pizza Cats. And the English dub, they didn't actually have the script at all. So they didn't actually know what the story was about. So they just kind of winged it. Like, this is a kids show about cats that live in the future and deliver pizza in their samurai Iron Man costumes while fighting off evil goons. So it doesn't really matter what we put in our dub. It's all nonsense anyway. So when you're a kid, you watch it, you're like, oh my god, it's amazing. And then you're an adult, you're watching, you're like, what? But it's still cats in Iron Man samurai costumes delivering pizza. So
That's the most bizarre thing I've heard. But if that, I mean, without having seen it or ever heard of it, I definitely have to check that out.
yeah, I'm pretty certain you can find it on the high seas somewhere.
I remember-
Literally, it's
Raise
probably
the flag.
It's probably in some box floating somewhere in the middle of the Pacific.
Okay, now keep a lookout for your Iron Man cats.
Samurai Iron Man.
Samurai.
Cats. That's the worst part.
Samurai Iron Man cats.
Yeah.
All right, Ed.
Yes. All right. What was the question again?
How do you keep
When
your
you
beard
need-
looking so good?
No, when you need a laugh, where do you go?
Where do I go? So there's this thing, there's a group called Dry Bar Comedy, which is it's a bunch of stand-up comedians that tell that mostly clean jokes. Like I said, I have children that live in my house. Two of my kids, I had kids very young. Like I was very young whenever my two oldest were born, but my youngest daughter, she's still 14. So I try to tend to watch cleaner jokes, especially when she's around, or cleaner comedians when she's around. Yeah, she tends to be dirtier than me. Because the internet exists. Yeah, the internet exists and she has access to it, but whatever. It's not going to be because of my fault. She can't blame me when she goes to see a therapist in her 30s. So whatever.
Yeah, I ain't paying for that shit.
Yeah.
There's a joke there, but I'm not making it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, the thing is, if you are a comedian and you're forced to be clean, if you're forced to tell clean jokes, you have to tell most of the time it makes your jokes even funnier. Like you have to level up your game. And to me, that means that Dry Bar Comedy, they have a channel on Facebook, they have a channel on YouTube. Like the people on there are hilarious. And a lot of their jokes, like I'm starting to get older, I'm about to be 40. So a lot of their jokes are about getting older. I already have a lot of aches and pains because, like I've been blown up 4 times, broken 37 bones, all that other fun stuff. So I already have a lot of aches and pains, but the older I get, the aches and pains are getting worse and worse. And so then making jokes about being old and and all the problems that happen as you age. I'm like, yeah, it's funny because it's true, and my back hurts, you know. So I don't know. To me, that's kind of one of my go-tos.
Not great. That's good, but Geneva just gave us that 5 minutes warning, so let's work on our outros. Tell us about yourself, and then whatever else you want to say. There's always Michael last, so Ryan or Jolly.
I can go, I guess. Name's Ryan Maxwell. Write Grand System Vending. 3 books are complete and up on Royal Road right now. They've been sent off to editors, so the editing process we were told is going to begin in January, and then it's downhill from there. So hoping to see some books starting to do some rapid releases in 2025. The story is about a post-apocalyptic story. Main character is a warlock who gets magical tattoos that enhance his powers, which is really cool. And the main system for all of their survivability gear is vending machines in Grand System Vending, so they can purchase things from those they need instead of having to find a store or collect them themselves if they wanted to. Hilarity ensues as a group of friends go through that journey together. And then I've also started writing a second series that I've put on Royal Road. 3 chapters are up now. They're dropping 3 times a week, called Dungeon Grand Prix, where a man dies and is reincarnated as a dungeon core, but instead of doing the standard, everybody runs to the dungeon killing monsters. He is beginning to set up a Mario Kart style race through the dungeon for prizes with minions who will attack them on their way through and harrow them, as well as traps and other deadly things that try to kill them. As he levels up in his process there. And there's some story stuff that's going to be happening pretty soon. A lot of it's been world building so far because it's pretty cool and fun to get that in there. So go check those out. Give them a like and a follow if you have the chance.
Nice, dude. Those both sound really cool. You said they're coming out book in 25?
The Grand System Vending will be coming out in 25 for sure. Like I said, we have a date in January with the editors to start on all 3 books, so they can do continuity through the whole thing. So it should be, we should be able to release them pretty close together. We're going to try to do a rapid release on those. I don't know, somewhere like 6 weeks in between at the most, probably.
Nice. I've
2, 3 going.
I've been waiting to get my hand on those for a while now. I just don't like working on computers. So.
Yep. No, I get it. We got they do have an app on your phone if you want to read them there, but for Royal Road. But I know that's kind of tough still. And we are having Audible. We've got a deal that we're going to be already got settled on a company that's going to produce those. So there will be an audiobook, and I'm looking forward to that because I think it's going to be pretty fantastic, especially if we can get who I'm hoping to get to do the narration. So that'll be fun.
Perfect. All right, Jolly.
Yeah, so I write Beers and Beards.
Beautiful.
Canadian craft brewer and vintner dies, reincarnates as a dwarf in another world, and discovers that the famed dwarven beer is actually shite because they haven't tried to improve it for thousands of years because they've venerated it so much. And so he decides to teach people how to brew. So it's a kind of like a comedy slice of life where you also learn how to brew and the brewing process.
So you go through the entire process of brewing in your book.
Yeah, so over book 1, you learn how to brew a beer. I've had people who picked up brewing specifically from reading the book.
Awesome.
In book 2, you learn about different types of beers and the minutiae of them, as well as sort of like the more advanced techniques. And book 3 kind of goes into, all the different beers. So, saisons and stouts and porters and what are they all and what do they all do and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just starting book 4 here. And for book 4, I've had to, I picked up this giant thing here, backwards, and I have to, book 4 will be about wine. And that'll be the last one. So book 1, 2, 3, book 3 hits shelves here. Hits the digital shelves in 2 weeks. So I'm certain my publisher is sitting in the comment section here being like, why the fuck aren't you editing right now? Swear I'm going back, swear to God. Yeah, and then all the books are about 20 hours on Audible, so worth your credit.
Nice.
and it's the narrator Christian Gillian did an amazing job. He's got all those dwarven accents that you love, and I got permission from those of you who know what the Yogs cast gave me permission to put Diggy Hole in it. So Christian Gilliland sings Diggy Hole in the book, which is the most exciting thing ever. Makes all of this hard work worth it. Who cares
he's
about
just-
all the rest of
He's
it?
just really good at a Scottish accent, right?
Yeah, I'd say that he nails it.
I'd love to see a dwarf, but their accent is like Indian.
I've got that's in the book. Actually, it's the gnomes. The gnomes.
Nice.
The southern gnomes have the Indian accents. The accents play a big part of it. Yeah, it was fun. I sent him this big sheet of like specific accents, and I was like, all right, the dwarves have. So the Eastern dwarves have, think of like a Spanish accent with a bit of some Italian in there, and he's like, dude, no, just. The moment you're telling me Scottish with just like a hint of brogue, just stop. Just say Scottish.
Right. Okay, I can go. I got another joke, but I can't. Okay, Michael.
All right, yeah. So, name's Michael Head. Wrote Threads of Fate and Wandering Warrior. You can check me out on Amazon. I also have a website, michaelheadauthor.com, where there's merch and other stuff you can check out through either Legion Publishing or Mountain Dale Press. And that's pretty much it. But before that, we should. I have a dad joke for everybody.
Yeah.
What did the math book tell his doctor?
What?
I'm full of problems.
That's
Oh,
a
and
good
it's
time to
fast.
Geneva. Just shut it off.
Yeah, real fast plug. If you want to see more about the books, I got a takeover coming up next.
Oh yeah!
Nice. I want to see that.
Bye
Right.
everybody.
Just
Bye.
wave.